in a new studio. As you can see, I got a new plant. The plant's nice. I can look downstairs and see all the snow on the ground. So things are going good. I hope you guys like our new studio. It's going pretty well, I would say. So it's great to see you guys and be back. First off, I'd just like to review what we did last week. Let's take a look at our stock market. We talked about predicting the future and what that looks like. So on my phone here, we went through a couple different ones. We went through a lot of crypto. You know, that's what's going to be happening in the future. And if you lock down on your Ethereum coins or Bitcoin, you did pretty well in the last week. So, you know, we do these lives every single week on Wednesday. So hopefully you did that. If you can see here on Ethereum, Ethereum really in a week's time skyrocketed. Last week we were at 1600, 1500, and it shot all the way up to 1824. And not bad. As you can see, it dropped a little bit today, which is good. Doji coins, that started last week. That was at 2 cents a week ago, and it jumped up all the way to 8 cents a coin. That's not a good one. Bitcoin, unbelievable. It shot all the way up to, I believe it was 49,000 on intraday, but here it's showing 47,000, and it was at 38. So you would have made about $10,000 per coin, which isn't bad. So the idea here is to stay on top of it. Some other things on equities, on space, on Virgin Galactic, they got approved. If you look here, here's the 3-month trend, 1-month trend. You can just see it. You know, this is a stock that I got into at $17 a share and been dollar cost averaging on the way up, plus taking some profits. But they have their test flight going on starting this Saturday. So they could do it as early as this Saturday. And then Richard Branson will be jumping on. And this is going out to space. So they take a regular plane up to about 50,000 feet. And then you're dropped from this plane. And they put on this rocket. And this rocket shoots you up to 250,000 feet above ground. So then you're in space and you get to float around and do all these cool things. And there's like 600 people that have tickets already. Tickets are like $250,000 a pop. So that's all I got to show you on here. One last one, Wayfair. Wayfair has earnings at the end of February. If you look at a 3-month trend, you can see they popped at like $375 a share. Here it says only $329. But once again, in intraday, things change. So on the stock market, remember, I'm not a financial advisor. So this is just my speculation, sharing with you guys of what's going on. As we go down, there's one other one that I wanted to talk about. We talked about last week too, and that was Ideanomics. And on Ideanomics, you can see last week we shot up from super low, $4.52 to $5, all the way up to I think it got up to like 550, 560. And then it came back down. So, and then last and final, I wanted to give you this one. And the one I wanted to get you is, Sundial Growers. This was another good one. This is marijuana. So this was like $1 or something a week ago, $1.10, and now it's already up to $2.73. So that's all I have to show you right now on that. So I'm going to put that down. But listen, we want to talk about mistakes. Is this a mistake not getting into cryptocurrency? As we're looking into this new world, things have to change. Our studio's changed. And as we keep bringing you new content and bringing you new things, we want to change. And we've learned from our mistakes. And in life, you're going to make mistakes. Heck, you're probably going to make several mistakes today. I make mistakes every single day, and it helps me grow to go into the future. It's terrible when you have an ego, and your ego wants to be like, no, that mistake didn't happen, or why are you picking on me, right? That really puts you into jail. It puts me into jail. So if I do something wrong or I'm yelled at, Okay, what did I do wrong? So let's just hear that and see how I can do better in the future. It's going to happen. You're going to make mistakes, and mistakes are also part of business. And if you are a CEO, a manager, or a leader of any sort, or you're an employee at a company, you have to know how to deal with these failures. Because if you don't, these failures are just going to like put you into a rut and you're not going to be able to produce, right? You're not going to be able to function to that high level of exponential factors. In today's discussion, I wanted to go over dealing with your own failures, right? And you could check out now and say, that's it, I don't want to even talk about that. But listen, you're going to learn something here. It's stuff that I've learned myself going through this, and I want to just give this stuff to you because as I'm dealing with failures and you're dealing with your team's failures, and I wanted to go over some of the scenarios that in new business or entrepreneurs you're likely to face as well. So additionally, if you have any questions that you want to be answered, put those in the comments. Any issues that you're facing right now, then let me know in those comments. Absolutely. And I will get to it as this continues moving forward and I get to the end. Okay? So just go ahead and put your comment there, and then I have a screen right here that shows me all this in the studio. So it really helps me out to really see what's going on with you guys. So first, dealing with your own failures. You can't expect to handle your team's failure effectively if you're unable to handle your own, right? It all starts with you, and then as it starts with you, it then jettisons out to other people. So I wanted to cover a couple of steps that you should go through when you are facing these failures. First and foremost, be prepared, right? Having a conversation like this, just being prepared says, oh, I should be prepared, right? So I need to be prepared. I'm going out camping for the next week and I have nothing and I have to live off the land. You have to be prepared. So what are you going to get, right? So now that doesn't mean having a plan of action for every possible failure. That's not going to be happening, and that's just not even feasible. It's about how your mindset is. How are you setting that mindset? Have you been mentally prepared to know that failure does happen? It just has to be part of yourself and your personality. Next, you have to have an outlet. This is especially important for those small failures that pile up throughout the day or week. You know how those emails pile up, and then throw problems, and then it pulls you away from that as well, and it keeps piling and piling and piling. Well, you know those things. They scale up, right? And then entering them into the wrong way. How do you enter into a problem the wrong way? Well, a lot of us do if we're not prepared. These are small issues and are going to need some big processes to change and reevaluate what's actually going on. They just happen. They kind of like, however, pile up over and over and over again. So it's important to have something to shed that stress away. Like I worked out for 2 hours last night and it was great. It really got me to a new level of like taking on a whole bunch of things that's making me feel a lot better, right? Another important thing is not to make emotional decisions. The moment that you start making emotional decisions on things, especially we talked about stocks, right? It can't be an emotional thing. When you're putting monies in to plan for your future, think of it like treasuries. So you're creating something for your future that you can rely on. That's going to ebb and flow. You're going to be up $100. You're going to be down $100. And if you're investing more, it could be 1,000. If you're investing more, it could be 10,000. If you're investing more, just add zeros, right? So as we continue going through that, you got to be careful. And it's always worth taking a step back and making sure you're not making those emotional decisions, right? It's terrible when you do that. Even if it's a quick 2-minute breather, it's important that you do not start making these decisions based off your anger or, of course, the uncertainty. I mean, we're in an uncertain time right now going through this pandemic of COVID, right? So we have to be prepared, and we can't get emotionally attached to everything. I mean, it's great that restaurants are opening up. Went to a restaurant this weekend with my wife. It was great just to get out of the house. I mean, after a while, there's just so many projects you can do around the house and so many board games you can watch or so many old movies that you can watch with your kids, right? Another important aspect is to build a support network. Having a support network is part of being prepared and can act as an outlet for you as well. Your support network should be personal and business, and maybe try to have both. I mean, right now at Becker Logistics, I have a network of people that are right there to help assist in any way, shape, or form. And these are people that I work with, rely on. These are the executives and also the managers and employees. They're really helping out in so many ways. And every week I get together with the same four guys. One guy just moved from London back to the States, which is great. So we always had to find a time that worked with him. But having those people in our lives that we can actually talk to and vent about the things that we're dealing with really helps out as well. That way you have people to go to, and if you need to take your mind off of work or get some advice on a situation, they're there to help you. Having a strong network goes beyond helping you navigate your failures. It can help you in every aspect of your business and in your life. And on to possibly the most important step, which is reevaluating your strategy. I mean, it's great when I can bring to my mentors, my coaches, my friends, my peers, what steps I've taken and what my mindset's like. And they kind of like, Jim, get off it. Like, stop talking about it. Like, it's over. Oh, okay, cool. Thanks. I needed that. So this is really cool when these things happen. And this is where the majority of the time you should be spending after making a mistake. Spending time with your network to really identify what happened, how could I have avoided this, and where should that emotional body been, or am I still taking this on, like going on a vacation carrying a whole bunch of luggage that's falling apart constantly on you, right? That's what happens when you let that emotional body come in, or if you're trying to be that victim. And a lot of people get a lot of things from being a victim. I like saying, no. I don't want to be a victim. I want this taken care of. Let's take care of this and move on. Put it in the past so that I can be in the present, because I like opening up a present. It's giving me the future. This is when you ask the question, the who, the what, and the where, and the when. Most importantly, the why. And sometimes you really have to bring in the other thing that has a W, but it doesn't start with a W. It's the how. How do we do it? And usually when I'm looking for the how, usually the who shows up. And my answers are solved pretty quickly. How are you going to make sure that this sort of thing does not happen again to you, to your family, to your business, to your colleagues, to your team? What can you do next time to be better prepared for these type of situations? I know I said earlier that you don't want to plan for every failure, but if it's something that's going to happen frequently, you should build a process for that. I mean, this could be a customer that's going out of business, hasn't been paying their bills. They're 60 days, now 90 days, now 120 days. What did you do? Did you make sure that you got them the information that they needed? Or is it just like that all the time? Overall, this is when you make the change or take the action required to fix the problem. Sometimes this step is like pretty easy sometimes. I mean, if you lost a sale because you were inside this whole situation and some insulting of the prospect, maybe the salesperson thought that was a good idea to insult a prospect, then what do you do next time? How do you mitigate that with that salesperson insulting a prospect? You just can't have that. And how much emotional baggage is that salesperson getting as well? Be nice. Listen, there's an opportunity in life each and every day to have the best day ever. I mean, I woke up today thinking this could be the best day ever, and then I look out and it's still snowing. Like, what's going on here in Chicago, right? You got to get ready for this, right? So, all right, the next piece of advice that I have is you need to separate failures from yourself. You're not a failure. Right? Whatever you produced might have been a failure, but yourself, you're whole, complete, and perfect, right? So you got to understand there's a separation, right? Just the same separation between church and state, mother and father, brother and sister. sister and sister, right? You have to understand there's these separations. You have to separate yourself from the problem. Letting yourself become strongly attached to the failure will make handling it a lot more difficult. And just think about that. Like, honestly, you have to separate it. Otherwise, you're going to have more difficulty in your life. And more difficulty just makes it more of an emotional wreck, right? It makes trying to fix the problem become a whole inward journey. I mean, inward. We're not thinking outward. You need an outward mindset. You need an outward journey. And it's all about the journey. It's not the destination. So get over it. You have to realize that. In most cases, it's just a small change in how you do business. Understand and recognize. Understand and recognize the mistake while consulting and continuing on with your life. The consulting comes from your peers, the people that you hold dear to yourself. Sometimes I call my mom. Sometimes I call my dad. Like, hey, I got a question. Like, I've never seen this before in childhood. You want to tell me about this? Right? I mean, I got a 7-year-old and 11-year-old at home. Let me tell you, I have a lot more in store for me. I know it. And that's coming from all my friends that have kids that are older than I. Not older than I, but kids that are older than my kids. And similarly, don't dwell on things. Mistakes and failures, they do happen. And they happen to everyone. Show me someone that didn't hit a failure. And now, getting down about it, how is that going to accomplish anything productive? I mean, instead, stay forward thinking. If you stay forward thinking, it will change your world. It will be able to allow you to enable you to get past the problem and work towards the solution. That's the only way you're going to be able to do it. You need to have that outward mindset. And when I find myself dwelling on a mistake, I just have to remember that what's done is done, right? The spilled milk happened. The only thing left to do, right, is to make any fixes and learn from it. And it's terrible when you don't learn from it. That's terrible. Like, how did that milk spill? Which happens to be my final piece of advice that I have for you today. And that's last, lean in and learn from your mistakes. Learn from them. Never let your failures go to waste. Make sure you learn as much as you can on what happened. Doing so means that the next time you try something that you've already tried before and you failed, you don't want to try and do that again because you're going to get two steps back again. When that failure shows up and you can see it, oh, I remember that last time, you can get yourself 2 steps ahead. And additionally, moving on is necessary, and asking yourself why. Why is the most important thing, because that's where all the purpose is. Simon Sinek has a great book that says start with why. And when you ask yourself why you failed, it's important. Ask yourself, why did I fail? Don't beat yourself up over it. Just say, hey, why did it happen? And then you can build up from there. And it is instantly to do the same thing over and over again is expecting a different outcome. That's insanity. You don't want that. Learning from your mistakes and how you can be better next time is one of the hardest parts of failing. It's difficult to ask those hard questions and deal with the answers that might come up. Doing so, though, will inevitably prevent you from making the same mistake in the future. Also, it's important to remember that these elevations requires patience and endurance. It's hard to look in the mirror sometimes and go, oh, that happened. Yeah, that was me. Yeah, that's where having integrity and authenticity says, yeah, that happened. And then setting up a way to have workability into the future. Where a lot of people fall short is understanding that in order to grow, you can't be comfortable. Let me repeat that. In order to grow, you can't be comfortable. How many times have I been in the gym last night and I was just trying to push through to get 15 sets in, right? Not 15 sets, 4 sets, 15 reps. How do you get those reps in? And I'm just burning through it. And it was tough, but it's worth it. You are sabotaging your own success in getting too complacent. Things must change in order for growth and advancement. And if nothing changes, my friends, nothing changes. This is true for both growth within yourself and within your team, inside your business, inside your family. Take that on. The team that you are managing also, they're going to fail. How you react plays a huge role in the long-term success of that team. So let's move on to the next point. And my next point is dealing with your team's failure. All right. So I laid out all of this to give you a good glimpse and some good tools to get ready for this next one, because this is going to be fun. So we went over how you're going to fail over and over again in business. What about your team, though? Well, the same thing, mistakes happen. And as a leader, one that exercises leadership as your natural self-expression, or the manager doing the same, how do you respond to your team's failure is vital. Are you going to be the type of manager that just rages out of control, right? Taking it on whomever made the mistake? Or are you going to review what happened, identify the cause, and then work with your team to make sure that this doesn't happen again? I think that's a better way. The moment that you start dealing with a problem and you put blame on someone, the moment you put blame, it's like this. And you just knock out any possibility as you move forward. No learning, no listening will happen because you're blaming them. And nothing you say will ever be heard. It's like saying, listen, you're nice, you're beautiful, you're cunning, but everything you just said is washed away with that but. But I must move on. No. So, well, just like there were tips on navigating personal failure, I also have some guidance to help you navigate through your team's failure as well. Number one, cultivate the risk-friendly environment, right? Cultivate it. I mean, risk is essential. Sometimes it works and you're rewarded with big gains. Over times, it doesn't, and the team has to push through the failure, right? So when it doesn't, you have to push through that failure. Regardless, though, risk is an important thing as you move forward. And as you're driving that success, make sure your team members feel comfortable taking on challenges with confidence and forward thinking, of course. Without the risk, you're not going to be innovative. You're not going to be flexible or successful. Next tip, after failure, be sure to acknowledge your own feelings. This is important because if you go on and try to fix the problem when you're angry, it's not going to work as well as if you weren't angry. Just remember how I told you it's this. As you put that forward for other people and you're still upset and angry, this is going to affect you and how other people perceive you and what comes out of your mouth or what your body is telling people. It can also do some real damage to your team. You don't want to lose your team, do you? So it's so difficult, but important to balance. You must strike between having a healthy human reaction and then letting go before the negative emotions drag your productivity and efficiency down. Don't be a drab. Don't do that. It's also important to give your team some time and space to let them, the team members, vent. Hear them out. Let them be heard. And the process how they see fit, right? Ask them for input. Give me your input. And also remember your team is comprised of individuals. some of whom will bounce back more quickly than others. However, this doesn't mean just walking out and leaving them for a couple of hours. Each person is, we're all human beings. We're all part of this thing called humanity, right? But we all act differently and we all take in information differently. Make sure that they're heard and make sure that we address a problem, and then let's talk about it and figure out, maybe by having all of these different ideas, we can get to the right solution, the correct solution. Failure is exactly when a team needs to get leadership. Yes, when failure happens, you'll see people step up into a leadership role. And you should make it known you're there for them. You're stand for them. You're causing the matter. And you're going to take things on larger than yourself if it's there. That your door is always open to their questions, concerns, or feedback. If they just want to talk, vent, or whatever, they can call you on your cell phone, come into your office at any point in time, and you'll handle it. It might take 1 minute, it might take 5, it might take more. And if you're in a Zoom call or another meeting, you can put that on pause for a moment, identify what the problem is, and then put them on your calendar so that you can deal with that, where it might take longer time to fulfill that so the employee seems heard. And that's going to give you information. And then you definitely do not want to forget to do the damage control. This is so important. There are people who need the consequences of failure kind of like recertified, and part of working through a failure with the team is conceiving of ways to make the situation right. How do we do that? How do you make it right? This may have to do with the first thing you do after the failure. If you're wronged a customer in some way, then the first thing you want to do is set it right. How do you correct that wrong, make it right, and then ask for forgiveness? And then let them know it's not going to happen again, and that you're putting structures in place, and you have to identify that failure. And if you identify that failure, they will take that authenticity and that integrity and maybe even give you a 10x on it. And after the issue is resolved, you can go through and examine what actually happened, which actually brings us to the next point. Analyze what went wrong. You can't go through all this without analyzing what went wrong. How do you handle this step is what determines the success or the failure of your team in the long run. This step goes pretty similar to analyzing your own mistakes or failures. You want to ask all the questions and look through all the data. The longer you look at data, the more the data is going to tell you. The more it tells me. I spend 5 minutes on data, it tells me very little. I spend an hour on data, it's going to tell me tons. If I spend 4 hours on a Saturday afternoon going through data, oh my gosh, I just created 8 more hours of work for myself and my team. The key difference is that you want to include the team with you on the whole process. Bring everyone together so that everyone on the team learns from this mistake. I don't mean bring him to your house on Saturday afternoon. I mean, go through the data and then share that data with them so that they can see it too. If it's just you learning, then it's just going to happen over and over and over again. So call a meeting, bring this stuff forward. I do this every single week. I bring everyone together and we just vent and get this problem to the surface, and then we identify the solution. But we have to look at the ugly to get to the pretty, right? The meeting should be an inclusive group event, and everyone has the right to say something. And you make that area free. Like, you can say anything you want, and it's not going to harm you in any way. Bring this stuff forward. Let me know. If I don't know, I can't fix it. People won't want to voluntarily rehash the event. Never. They never want to. Or their personal mistakes. They don't want to look at that. It's like, can we forget about that? But if you can discuss the failure in a productive roundtable style without pinpointing certain people and belaboring that, you can get a comprehensive and useful picture of what went wrong and how you can come up with a creative ideas for how to fix the current problem at hand and avoid similar situations down the road. Also, be sure to use precision and clarity when identifying what went wrong. Don't just say a mistake was made. A mistake was made. That's it. Say we missed the deadline because X, Y, and Z. By identifying exactly what went wrong, the team is better prepared to be proactive and avoid the mistake in the future. It's also getting them prepared by looking at X, Y, and Z by coming up with solutions and being part of the solution and not part of the problem. I hope you guys are getting this because this is so important. Additionally, please try to avoid placing the blame on those individuals. Instead, focus on the overreaching process. If a few individuals really are a blame, talk to them privately. Do a one-on-one Zoom. One-on-one Zooms are so candid, it's just us. There's not a whole group of people in a whole room or an office next door that they can hear something that they probably shouldn't have. Don't call them out in a group setting. Never do that. That just destroys the relationship. One-on-one, fantastic. Lastly, but not least, be sure to focus on the future, not the past. Can't really do much with the past. Emphasize the solutions, not the problems. So whenever I talk to someone today in regards to a situation, and let's just say you're dealing with something, I don't know, here, I got a keyboard here. There's a keyboard. There's a problem with a keyboard. Fix the problem. The solution, don't go fix other stuff. Fix the keyboard. Easy, right? Don't go fix my window. My window's fine. Maybe now after you fix my window, it now has a leak. And now that cold air is coming in here. We just fixed this place. Leave it alone. A team failure can really shake the team confidence. After a large misstep, people start to question their competencies as well as their overall efficiencies on the team and how effective they are. Managers and leaders should view this as a perfect time for a bit of team building. And the team lunches were fantastic when we were all in the office, right? Or fun after work. I remember going and doing whirly ball, bowling. I mean, we did a lot of different things, golfing. Building up team cohesiveness, coupled with a thorough, honest deconstruction of what went wrong, can be the best methods for getting everyone back on the same page and ready to tackle the next challenge. I can remember me and my COO dealing with things. We have so many history of problems, and we've gotten to this level where we're at right now that no matter what happens, we've already seen it, most likely. And we can say, remember how we dealt with that? We're going to deal with it this way, maybe just a little bit different and following the same steps that I'm sharing with you today. Last, you want to remember to continue to push to risks. Take those risks. Don't let one failure make you stop taking risks altogether. You have more things going on in your life. You have to push past it. And if you don't, you're stuck there. Don't get stuck. You have to move past it into the future. Only focusing on failures can make the team feel criticized or negative. A consistent balance of examination of successes and failures helps ensure your team feels empowered to do the job that they were hired to do. I mean, these people are great. That's working for you. That's working for me. Let them take the reins to make it smarter, better, the decisions into the future while still embracing the positives of risk-taking. And those are the tips and advice that I have for you this week, for your team, for yourself, for the failures and the positive things. So let's move on to the next section. The common failures and new business face. Before ending today's live, I wanted to go over some common issues that new businesses face and areas that make mistakes and failures. They tend to happen, right? Also, I will answer any of the questions. I see we got a couple of them as soon as I'm done here. So let's get started. So if you have any questions, get them in there now. How do you handle being dependent on just one client? You can't be dependent on just one client. How do you do that? That's customer concentration. You really want your number one customer to be really 10% or less. So if you're just starting out and you have one client, you got to hurry up and get another one, and you got to get 9 more, right? You can't have any one client get further ahead. Another question, how do you prevent or handle personal burnout? Balance. There's 168 hours in a week, and out of that, I make sure that I have family time. I make sure every Thursday night is a date night. I go out on a date, and if it's not out, I'm making it seem somewhat special. Like, how do we do that? Bringing us back together, spending time with your kids, watching a movie with them. You know, Friday and Saturday nights are pretty much movie nights with my kids, and the girls switch couches with me and my wife. So Friday night I might have Sydney, and Saturday night I have Brooke. So it's kind of nice because we can like really do that. You need to take your eyes off the computer and go do something else. So you can't be on a computer all day and night. And what do you do with the reputation if it takes a hit? The best way to take care of that reputation is by addressing it immediately and get in front of it, right? Own it. Have that integrity, have the authenticity of taking that on, and then bridge that and secure that, anchor it so that it won't happen again. How can I manage my time and calendar? Listen, I call it mission control. How do you get that mission control of your life? You either have a time problem or you have a team problem. You either need one or the other. At least that's what I'm faced with all the time. So I use a digital calendar and I treat that golden. When I'm here with you guys every Wednesday for live, I'm here Wednesday for live. And I have to have everything prepared and go live. And live means here it is. It's raw. If I make a mistake or I want to take a drink, I can't. Right? So make sure you manage time. Have some type of thing that you can like write something down, a little notepad, have your little notes section in your phone, whatever the case may be, and then you put it on your calendar. Once you put it on your calendar, it's like going to a wedding. You're not going to miss the wedding. Well, I have a lot of weddings on my calendar, and I treat them just as important as if it was my daughter's wedding, right? And you just own it. When do I know that it's time to grow? Well, you know it's time to grow when you've built up a good nest egg of profits. Let me repeat that. You know it's time to grow when you've built up a good nest egg of profits. You can't grow without profits. Now, if you got VC money or PE money, okay, great, but you're going to have a plan. Now, once you have that money, now you have to go ahead and move forward. Capital is king. So what are you doing with that? And I treat it like a treasury. So what would the treasury do? Well, what are we going to do and how are we going to place this and how are we going to let it grow for us? All right, so that's all I have for today, and I hope that you've learned something. So let's see if there's any more comments. What is the best thing to do if you lose a major customer? How can you change? How can your business change or adapt? Listen, I've done that before. I've fired our number one customer. And by firing our number one customer, it really opened up the opportunity to grow. It's just the profit margins were too low, the requests were too high. Or you have your number one customer. That's a failure on a lot of parts. There's a whole bunch of other things that's going into that. What have you been doing on a daily, monthly, weekly, quarterly basis to make sure that customer wasn't going to leave you, right? So that's really important. The number one thing, you have to look at your number two customer and bring them up. And hopefully you've already done that. Hopefully you've done that with your top 5, 10, 20, 50. So making sure you take care of your customer. If you don't take care of your customer, someone else will. I'll tell you that right now. Next question. Yes. Hey, Jeff, good to see you, bud. Hope retirement's going well in the consulting business. Um, so, how do you create a safe space for honesty in solving an issue? Well, first off, and that's a good one, Jeff. These are all from you. So, you have to have a place that you can have those those arguments, but it should be one on one. It shouldn't be with a whole bunch of other people. Um, I could tell you this. For me, let me just read this again. How do you create a safe space for honesty and solving issues? The one thing, I don't have family at my company. That I'll tell you right now. I had family before, and that was terrible. Because what happens is we're torn between family and business. And my mom worked for me. I fired my mom 3 times. And when my mom was here, I told her, I can't call you mom. I don't want you to call me son. When you're here, you're an employee. When we leave here, I'll call you mom all day long. But when we're here, I'm the boss. It just has to be that way. And my mom always wanted to I'm your mother. I'm like, okay, this isn't going to work. Okay, you're fired. So it's tough. So when you're dealing with the people, you have to have that values. You have to have norms. If you have norms, if you're having problems with someone, the best thing is to confront that with them. Hopefully it's not a family member. And normally, if you look around your company and it's one person still there that everyone's always bitching and complaining about, it's probably best just to fire them and be over with. Like, get that over with, because they're ruining your culture and your business. And it's not good for you and it's not good for them. So I like using my values. My 4 values is integrity, authenticity, being cause in the matter, and taking on things larger than myself. So I take things on. That's where the risk comes. So it's fantastic. And great questions, Jeff. You are awesome, generous human. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. Miss you, bud. Hope to see you again someday when COVID's not here, or when there's not a big snow barrier between Wisconsin and here. So maybe we'll play golf next year. Listen, I want to just wrap things up and just let you guys know that I hope you've learned something today about dealing with failures, right? We all deal with failures, and if let's take it to the next level where it's a crucible. You know, the biggest thing in your life happens to you. How do you get back from that? That's a failure, right? Maybe you didn't have any control over it. And dealing with mistakes is very similar. They're just minute things. It's the minutia of things. And just being a better leader in general, I hope you're able to put this into action as soon as possible. And I just want to thank you very much, really. Thank you very much. God bless. Stay safe. Go get your vaccine. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. And God bless, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye. I'm going to go check out my plant.